This is Rob Tubbett for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted as always to be joined by Deas, trainer of the WBC World Heavyweight Champion Deontay Wilder. We're here in Las Vegas following the final press conference. Is that a plug?
Yeah, this is Deonte's recovery drink. It's like it's a hydration. It's kind of a version of like a Gatorade or something. And Deonte's involved with the company, and it's really good stuff. So plug. Yeah, Recover 180.
You're more than welcome, Jay. You're a nice man, and I do appreciate your time. So, plug away. Here we are. It's crept up very, very, very quickly. I mean, Deonte was in the ring in November against Ortiz. How's the turnaround been? We've seen a lot in the last couple of days, really. Caleb Plant and Canelo talking about, I don't have enough time to prepare, and it's only 8 weeks. Yet we have Deontay Wilder going into arguably the biggest heavyweight fight of the past, however many years, on the back of an 8-week camp.
Well, I think it's one of those things where most people will say, I wish I could fight more. And then you give them the opportunity, and a lot of them don't really mean it. But Deonte means it. If he could fight every 3 weeks, he would. It's just not possible given the time it takes to build these fights up. So that being said, when we came out of the ring in November, they asked could he be ready in late February, and the answer was yes. So we took December off, and then we're back in the camp January 1st.
Is Deontay somebody who requires a lot of fine-tuning in the gym, or is he somebody who, after maybe 1 or 2 spars or a week or 2 of sessions, he kind of gets up to speed quickly?
Well, he never gets out of shape, so as he comes in camp in shape, we start right off with sparring. We do like a little three-day mini camp to begin, and then we bring the sparring partners right in. So we're ready to go. We don't waste time.
How is he with injuries for this fight? We've seen Deontay talk about injuries, as far back as the first fight. How is he here? He mentioned on the stage earlier on about Frankenstein arm and all of these operations. How is he going into this fight?
Well, his body is like piano wire, so it can snap, if things aren't right. But he's done a great job of resting and of making sure that nutrition is right and the stretching is right, and he's really taking care of his body. Like he's thinking like, not like a 20-year-old fighter, but he's thinking like a guy that wants to do as many fights as he can. And to do that, he has to do the right things with making sure his body is right, and he's done all that, so he feels great.
Now we've had a little bit of time to settle after the Ortiz fight. What did you make of his performance? A lot of people, Deontay, by his own admission, gave up a lot of rounds in that fight until he lined them up and obviously knocked Ortiz out with that devastating right hand. It seemed to me like Deontay was methodical, relaxed, confident in his own ability. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, it's not a question of Deontay just boxing and then losing rounds and then trying to find a knockout shot. He's working toward a conclusion the whole time. So the whole time that other people think he's losing rounds, what he's in fact doing is working the timing, the spacing, the distance, the positioning to get in a position, to get in a place to land those big shots. And so when that happens, he starts landing the big shots. It's only a matter of time. Really, about halfway through the 6th round was when he found his range. And Ortiz is so good that he knew what we were doing. And Ortiz was doing everything to avoid. He was either trying to stay out of range or inside of range, but never at the end of the punch. And it took a while to get to the point where we could consistently get that proper range. And once Deonte did that, it was more or less a matter of time.
Now you're preparing for the rematch. Going back to the first fight, Tyson Fury, he's 6'9", he switches, he moves around the ring, he's a very unorthodox fighter. How beneficial is it to already have had those 12 rounds in the bank when preparing for such an unorthodox fighter going into the rematch?
I think it's huge because I think Fury is a tough opponent to figure out in 12 rounds time, But Deonte scored the knockdowns in 9 and 12, those rounds. So it shows that through the first 8 rounds, he was making little adjustments along the way to have the success he did in rounds 9 and 12, because most guys never figure out Tyson Fury because he is very good. He's fantastic. But Deonte had figured out a lot of things by the 9th round. He got the 9th and he got the 12th. And that tells you right there he had made adjustments.
Without obviously over-divulging, what changes have you made going into the rematch that potentially weren't in place in the first fight?
Really, there's not anything to divulge. It's really just a case of us being better than we were. And for Deonte, that means getting his rest, getting his nutrition, not pressing. He wanted to impress so bad, and he wanted to get the knockout so bad that it's like in America we have, baseball, and you try to hit the home run, that's when you're not going to hit the home run. But if he just does his natural thing, he'll be fine.
A lot of the top coaches I've spoken to in the UK have mentioned Deontay's lack of body punching in the first fight, shooting that right hand to the chest, to the body. Is that something that you're going to work on and look to implement on Saturday night?
Well, Fury's such a difficult target to hit that logic would dictate that if you're trying to hit him in the head and you're having not a lot of success doing that, you lower the target and you try to hit him anywhere you can. And that's just basic logic, and I'm sure that's something that we will look at if we're having trouble.
I've spoken to you in the past about Ben Davison. While Ben Davison was with Tyson Fury, you had an awful lot of complimentary things to say. Ben has now left the camp. Sugar Hill and Andy Lee have come in to replace him. What were your thoughts on that? Did it surprise you?
It did surprise me because Ben had been there through the worst of all possible times for Tyson, and they come through a lot together, and you really develop a bond, a brotherhood when you do that. And Tyson was great for Ben, and Ben was great for Tyson. And so when they split, it was a little shocking. Plus, from a trainer standpoint, it's the only time I haven't come out with a W as a trainer with Deonte is Ben was in the other corner. So I was certainly looking forward to getting the rematch, with Ben, just as Ben was looking forward to it. And Ben's a friend of mine, and I'm a friend of his. So I think that was part of it too. We had a lot of respect back and forth. Javon's a very good trainer in his own right. We'll see if the chemistry can be had in 8 weeks. That's not an easy thing to do. Chemistry can take a long time. We'll see, since they've worked together before, if that chemistry happens that quick.
I was just about to come on to that. Obviously, you've known Deonte for a number of years. You've experienced an awful lot together, taking him from the small hall shows right the way through to being WBC World Heavyweight Champion. Is that an advantage that you have going into this fight, the fact that you know Deonte so well, whereas Javon, Sugar Hill and Andy Lee, it's still a very new working relationship?
Yeah, I think so. I think that that's a big part of it, is that we've been there. We've been together 15 years. That's longer than most marriages, So, we've been through all the downs and the times when people tested positive for drugs against us and fights were canceled, and Deonte was frustrated and wondering if we were making any progress, and we were fighting in places. We fought in one place where in the dressing room it had a stripper pole. I tell you, I'm not kidding. And I'm not going to lie and say all the guys weren't jumping on it and doing it, but at any rate. But that's the kind of places we came through. We came up the hard way. But I think at the end of the day, we're all the better for it. So I think that chemistry that we've developed through all those tough times will be beneficial Saturday night.
And final question, because as you can see behind us, we've got the lovely MGM staff who are desperate to whisk us away from here.
I'm ready to get out of here as well.
Oh, well, I hope it's nothing that I've said. We've seen Tyson.
Got 2 fight now.
Yeah,
2 interviews ago.
We've seen Tyson Fury in the build-up to this fight talk about going for the knockout, looking to take it out of the judge's hand. Do you think that's showmanship from Tyson Fury? Have you prepared for a fast start from Tyson Fury, or are you just preparing for all eventualities?
Well, we've been preparing for everything, because Tyson can do 4 or 5 things in one round: lefty, righty, forward, backwards, front foot, back foot, side foot. He can do a little bit of everything. So we had to prepare for everything. We had to bring in left-handed sparring partner. I'm a little bit mad because of the cost that it takes to prepare for Tyson Fury. You really have to spend a lot of money to bring in a lot of people just for possibilities, things he may not even do, but you still got to prepare for it just in case. And so we prepare for all of that.
One sentence answer: how does the fight end on Saturday night?
I'm never one to call rounds. I think the fighters should do that, but I will say Deontay Wilder, victory, spectacular fashion.
Jay Deas, always a real pleasure catching up with you. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay.